Hello everyone, welcome to a special Saturday edition of FMTraining.tv. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FMTraining.tv, where we have fantastic video training, both live video streams like this, as well as recorded content that you can purchase as part of our training packages for the FileMaker platform. So this is a special Saturday edition of this broadcast because, well, FileMaker 19 shipped this week and we had to move the schedules around to make everything work out. And so we ended up bumping a couple basic end user topics to today and tomorrow. We're going to cover those topics today and tomorrow. I'm going to go to FileMaker 19. I'm going to go to File, create a new file. And what I want to do is I want to create a blank file. And I'm going to say create, and it's going to attempt to create it up on the cloud because I'm connected to cloud too, but I want to create it on my Mac. And so I'm going to call this script errors. Okay. I'm going to hit save. It's going to save it to the desktop. It creates a set of fields automatically for me, which is great. So these are the default default fields that are in the field definitions. I'm going to say OK right here. Actually, what I do is I'm going to create a, let's call it a, I'm going to create a name field. I'm going to create an address field. I'm going to create, hey, Brian, if you're there, can you do me a favor and Slack, go into Deadbird database, which is our junk drawer repository. Look for CSV and send me a CSV file with, send me a CSV file with the 500 sample records in it for me. It's a 500 in there. You should know about that. Just send it to me in Slack. All right, so I got an address in there. I'll just do that for right now. And so the idea is I'm just going to display this for the time being as a table view. And so if I put Fred in here and I create a new record and I put Tom in here, and then what we'll do is we'll, actually it'll be name first. What I'm doing, I'm just letting this up for our scripting work. And then I'll say name, last, create, address, city, state, zip. We'll go through the new import dialog. So this will be good. You'll get to see all this stuff. So these are all the fields in the database right here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in one level on it so you can see a little bit better than that. So what I want to do is we're going to have a script that is going to do some basic stuff like perform finds. Now, once again, today is not so much about scripting. It's about catching errors in the scripting. Hopefully, Brian is finding my file for me. And I can't tell if he's finding the file for me. If he does, my Slack should pop up here. Hello. Is it hiding? 1 second here. Oh, it's down there. So Brian, I'm not, yeah, he's working 3 minutes ago. Yeah, he'll find it in the Deadbird. I just don't want to dig in the Deadbird database in front of God and everyone, although I guess I could. Probably might just be easier that way. So once again, this is one of those interesting ideas. The Deadbird database, I can go ahead and do it. The Deadbird, I have a FileMaker file. All our files are hosted. No files are local. I can go up and I can say, I'm not going to bring up my dashboard. I'm just going to go to the Deadbird repository. The Deadbird repository is literally my FileMaker junk drawer, but it's shared for the entire company. We have 1,488 items in the junk drawer in here. And so what we do, it's just got containers and a couple descriptions, but everything that you get, all these things like samples from Richard and this and that, what do you organize? You might get a sample from other people. What are you going to do with all that? Well, it's good to have a single junk drawer, and because FileMaker has a high-speed search, as long as you put keywords in there, you can get your records back. So I know in here somewhere there's sample data. It's sample data or CSV, the keywords I can think of. So I'm going to type the word sample like that. I get 38 records. And the first record that comes up is this one right here. So this is sample data. It's a Brian Dunning system that he used created years ago. It's online. It's a free resource. There's other websites that do this. Nick showed one the other day. But these are actually pre-created, which is kind of nice. So I'm going to click on this container here. I could right-click it to say export, which would export it. But I also have the button right here, which will export it to the desktop for me automatically and open it. So this is a CSV. I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to close the Deadbird. I'm going to go back to my sample. I'm going to say, all right, so we're going to come back over to our sample file. I'm going to say File, Import Records, File, identify the file. It's the 500 right here. This is you're going to see the new open dialog. This came out with FileMaker 18. It's a totally different new kind of dialog. It's pretty great. And so what it allows you to do is you can look at the data over here and try to line it up. So we primary key we don't have to worry about. It's interesting how it works because you can pop it up and you select items. So you have name like last, and I select it and it goes in here. So the idea of grabbing something and moving up and down has kind of gone away. So we have name first. I can click on that, select name first, or I could be up here and type name, and then probably, and you can use it up and down. So I'm trying to use my cursor keys. I could say first. And so then if I use the down cursor, no, tab cursor, then down. So I tab, so I can go down. I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to hit return. That was one of what I wanted, but that'll work anyway. That was horrible. Records. Okay. I'm going to delete all the records. We'll try again. It will remember the last setting we just did. So hitting the return key is no bueno. All right. So name first, name last. I want the, I don't think I have a company. I'm just going to delete. Can I delete it? Make it non-enterable. Let's see. Import. Don't import this field, right? So once again, you have to play with this a little bit. Then here's the address field. We got that. Then we've got the city. And then so I'm using my left hand to select letters and stuff. So this one here is going to be the country. I don't think I have country. Don't import. This one I can import. Like, so if I change it to right here, it should turn that on automatically. State. Yes, it turned it on. And then we do have a zip, I think. Zip. And then is there anything else over here? Address, city, state. I guess you could import multiple times. So that's good enough. So we have a pretty good alignment. We're going to create new records. I'm going to go ahead and say import. It says it had no errors, so that's great. So now we have a database. So let's talk about scripts. If I go into script workspace, all right, so I'm going to create a new script. Now, when you're doing with scripts, you have a left and right pane. And of course, someone's trying to call me, which is unfortunate. But what we have is that we're going to create a new script right here. And it's going to be find, and I'm just going to call it find California, okay? And so what we're going to do is, the idea is that you're going to do some sort of action in FileMaker, and it's not going to work. And the trick is, what do you do with it? And there's a subtlety here that most people don't understand. And the subtlety is that there's the one process of suppressing error messages, and there's the other process of actually doing something with the error. So what we're going to do is I'm going to write a find statement very verbosely. I like verbose code because it allows you to look at the code and to see what it does. But what I would, if you were doing good design, you'd say hashtag up there. I would say perform find for California, for example. Hit the return key. I'm going to come down. I'm going to put a couple extra returns to separate things, separate out so it's not really tight. They call it white space in between the lines of code. If you're using dark mode, I guess it would be reversed. I'm going to say enter find mode. So we're going to tell the computer to enter find mode, and the pause will be on. We don't want to pause. Pause is where it pauses, waits for the user to do something and hit the return key. So pause is off. We're going to then say set a field. So we're now in find mode. So we're like, imagine you're talking a user through how to do a find on the phone. You're going to target the field. I'm going to say find the state. I'm going to specify the state as being California. It's just arbitrary, it doesn't matter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say perform the find right here, okay? And it's going to perform the find, that's it. So there's no error capture, no error, nothing in here. It's just going to do it. So if I go ahead and run the script debugger, I'm going to go ahead and run that right here just so we can all see it briefly. I'm going to hit play, save all. It comes down to the line it's going to run, and I'm going to I just use this button. If you know nothing about the script debugger, you forget what the buttons do. That button right there does the next step, and it doesn't jump around. It doesn't skip anything. So you can stop it, tell it to run on its own, or just run the next line down. So I'm going to just tell it to remember that button right there, the second from the left, straight down. It's going to enter find mode. Notice it's in find mode. Then it's going to set California, which it does. Then it's going to perform the find. We have 74. All right, great. So what I want to do, come back over here. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change it to something like that, which will generate a no found condition. Now let's watch this again. I'm going to do it with the script debugger on. Once again, I'm going to run it, and if I have questions on this specific topic, let me know. But I'm going to go ahead and tell it to run the script right now. Run. says save all. I should have saved it beforehand, but it makes me do it. I'm going to come down, enter find mode. It's going to put it in there. Now it's going to run the perform find, and it actually also ends the script too. But what happens is that it spawns this dialog right here. So the script is not fully exited yet, but it's thrown this dialog to the user. Very important. So then it says, it's a standard kind of find dialog. You can't find it. You want to change it. You're an idiot. Whatever. It's the idiot light comes on in the system. I'm going to say cancel. Doesn't matter what I say. I'm going to come back to my scripts. I want it to do some other stuff. I want it to beep for me over here. And then I'm going to move this down a little bit. And I'm going to say, I want it to do something else like show me a dialog. Show custom dialog. It doesn't even matter. I just want it to do something else. We're done, right? Doesn't matter. Ideally, you do a find on one thing. You do a find on one area, then you go do some other stuff. And so this is the other stuff part. So I'll say, okay, whatever, we're done. We're done, we're done. So we're like that. So that way it has something else to do. Now, it's really important to watch. This is great. So we're going to do this again. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. There's little stars right there. As soon as I click on it, I hit the Command S with my fingers. Command S save. It saves it. Questions. If you have questions, definitely throw them at me. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. Once again, we're going to come down here. And so we're going to do the find right now. And I want you to watch this window here. I'm going to hit go down one more, and now it throws up the dialog, the error, okay? Now, we can say continue, and then notice what it has is that the system has logged this error. It saw an error 401. Every error command in the FileMaker platform has an error number. You're going to memorize, well, you can memorize the important ones. After so many years of doing this, I know about 10 of them, and there are literally, I think, over 1,000 of them. Whatever they are, if you can think of them. But 401 is the records don't match find requests. I mean, you did a find, it doesn't match. Error 101 means that there is no, you try to do a go-to related record, those of you who understand, like before, like when I had the two windows, and I said, show the person in the other database, that's a go-to related record. It had a related record, it attempts to go to it. If you press the button and it attempts to go there and there's nothing there, that generates an error 101. So the question is, do you trap for specific error numbers, or you just trap for any error, right? Because you think you know what the error will be. People do this two ways. I tend to write the actual error number in, so because when I see the code, then I know what I'm looking for in terms of the error. Because really, on a find like this, you're only going to have an error. I've never seen anything besides a 401. So the question is, and some of you are going to be like, what the hell? So I'm going to go and stop the script. I'm going to come back over to the script workspace. I'm going to come down here. And so let's say we want to trap for the error. We want to see what the error is. I don't want to trap for the error. I want to see what the error is. So let's try this. Let's just do this. If, now this is an if statement. And so I have to do some sort of logical check. Like if this equals this, then do this, right? So if there's a get function called get. The reason I know this is 30 years of doing this. A lot of you have been around FileMaker. You know your favorite get functions. Get the current date, get the time, get the last error, get found count, all sorts of things that are common. There's literally probably 100 get functions or more. Do you have to memorize them? No, you just look them up in the help. If you saw us yesterday, we were looking at the FileMaker help. It's really easy to do a search in there and find out about it. So I come over here. Let me see if it'll let me see that. If I say get... Actually, I can edit the code in here, but I can click into the calculation dialog. If I say get last error, and I click on that, see, it's not showing it to me down here, but if you come over here and find it, you say get last error, then you click on it, it gives you a little bit of description down there in the bottom right. Returns the error number that occurred in the most execution of the most recently executed script step. So FileMaker, very important, only remembers the last error. It doesn't remember 3 errors ago. If you run a piece of code that would never generate an error, like a comment, or there are script steps that won't generate an error, right? But if you're telling it to go anywhere, flip anything, do anything, it could generate an error. And so I'm going to say get last error. If the error in my case equals 401, which is a found set, then I want it to pop another dialog. It's going to say, and some of you are going, hey, you forgot important stuff. No, I didn't. You'll like this. No matching find. And I wish I could put my own little icon in there. So we could say stop, which is interesting. We'll cover that too. So I'm going to save it. We're going to come over here. We're going to run it again. Okay, you ready for this? I'm going to say play. Come over here, collect it, hit play. And so it's going to say, hey, there we go. We're going to enter the find. I'm going to generate the find. And then theoretically, we're going to see my error message, right? We don't see my error message. FileMaker throws the user an error still. So what we're doing is not complete. I'm going to say just continue. And then notice down here that it still sees the last error that it had is up here. So it's not the last line, it's the last thing that could generate the error. So it still has a 401 in, this is like waiting for that get function to get it. So that get function right there is always going to be looking for that last error. And if you're on the script debugger, it's hanging out right here. I come down here. So now it shows me my dialog. And you're like, well, hell. And so what's important to understand is there's a subtlety in the platform that as an instructor, I have to know about this stuff. It's stuff that I have to articulate to you, otherwise I'm a bad instructor. And what it is when FileMaker frequently will misname things or mislabel things because the people naming the product don't do training. If they did my job, they would name things differently because then they would understand that there's simplicity in training, and if you can train people simply, then they'd be happy customers, etc. They don't talk to the training people when they do stuff. They just do it. And so frequently the training people get left with a mess. This is not horrible, but it's one of those sort of things. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the script. We're going to come over here. People say, well, you need to turn on error capture. And so the problem is when you say set error capture, there's this thing called error capture, on or off. By default, when you have a script, this is like one of those little certification test questions. By default, what will this be, on or off? If it wasn't one on here before, now I put it on here, but remember it's a binary choice. It has to be on or off at all times. Everything is on or off. And so was it off by default? Yes, it was off by default because we saw the error. So this is one of those messages that says set error capture on. But the question is who they're capturing it for. And I think for probably the first 20 years of me using this tool, I misunderstood what capture was. It's a verb. But the verb applies a direct object in English, in whatever language you're used to. It applies that you're capturing it for someone. I always assumed it was capturing it for me. Capture it for me, don't show it to the other guy. Okay? Direct it towards me. That's not true. The error is always available to you, the developer. What this would be better said is that set error suppression or error user suppression. All this does is suppresses the error messages to the user. That's all it does. It doesn't stop you from getting the messages or getting the messages in your code. You saw it was off. We still got the error message. So that's an important subtlety. So by turning the error capture on, then basically it says suppress user errors on, which means suppress means they're not going to see it. Okay, which means that if you do that, you run into an error, you have to be the one to handle it, right? For example, classic case of a script that you don't want to have. You go to a related record, there's no related record. And so you're really clever about doing database cleanup. You're always getting rid of old records and things. So you have this process where I'm on this record and I want to delete all the other records with it, and or some sort of process where we delete this project and we delete these other records. Notwithstanding cascade deletes, we'll just leave that aside, but we want a scripted process so we can visually see it and control it. And you run your script steps are go to related record, delete record. Okay. If there's no related record and you delete the record, this is another certification test question. What will be deleted, right? Will it be deleted on the other side with no found set, or will it be deleted locally on your side? Well, the point is that there was no record to find, and you're telling it to do a delete command. You're pretty screwed because you're going to delete something you don't want to delete. So that's why the error capture becomes important, especially when you're setting data or mission critical processes that you really cannot, you don't want them to fail, right? And so doing a find is really important to say, hey, it failed. And then it's not so much what you do after the fact. You can choose, it's up to your business process of what you do after the fact. The idea is knowing about that you can suppress the warnings to the user, suppress warnings to user on, right? and then now you've suppressed them. Now what are you going to do with that? Right? I guess I should have done tomorrow's first because we're doing the if statements today. But one thing to point out in this code here is I specifically trapped for 401. The color coding here is due to the Monkey Bread plugin. So if you love the color coding, then you got to just download it, and it does free stuff for you. It's amazing, but you're going to want all this other stuff that it can do. Yeah, you're going to want to probably buy it. It's good stuff. Anyway, so what you can do here is what you do is if you don't know that, you know that there's going to be an error. So this is for Bunny and everyone else who doesn't done this. But 401, I knew the specific error. Remember, there's thousands of errors. If you know that an error is likely to come up, say you're going to do something here and you know an error might come up, but you don't know what the number is. A lot of people will just say if it doesn't equal 0. Now, if you have, it's important to understand that at all time there is an error number in FileMaker. At all times there is a number. If you ask for it, it will give you the number. If everything's running okay and there is not a problem, it will be 0. And so, it's important. So a lot of people will say, if they say if it equals 0, that means everything's fine. And so, but logically, most of the time you'll put a little if statement here to find the error. So you want if the error message is anything other than 0. So it's I hold the option key down or alt key down, I hit the equal sign. That's the not equal 0. Once again, right there, so we can zoom in, and that's going to give you the ability to. Doesn't matter what the error is, it'll work the same way. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to go out to. Well, that's not working. How about that? Let's go back to that. I'm going ahead and save it. Close it. I'm going to run it. Script debugger, and that's the one thing I didn't want to cover here. So here it goes. So I'm going to run it down. Notice the larger text now is on the script debugger too. It applied here too. That's pretty awesome. So step down, step. Okay, it's going to put the CAA in there, right? Remember when you're on that line. Now notice the lines don't match up anymore here. Okay, that's the penalty of using a plugin that you know, maybe I don't know if it's a 19 error or it just always does this, but puts the CAA in there. Now it's going to actually, when the line it's on is the line it will perform when you continue. So it's going to perform the find now. Okay, no error message is given to the customer. It's suppressed. So user error is suppressed. We still have it. It's a 401, but we know it's not equal to 0, right? So then we get the error message, right? So there we go. Pretty much everyone here has my training. If you don't have my training, I highly recommend that you get a subscription, get up to date with it. If you go to the bundles, so fmtraining.tv bundle, you can see the complete one here, which comes with a copy of FileMaker Pro Advanced 18 or Pro 19. Once again, in 19, they dropped the advanced name. They got rid of the word advanced. And so then you have on the if you want just the video training, it's over here. Our plan is to release all the 19 material officially on Wednesday. So you'll get, if you're supposed to get FileMaker from me, you'll get it between here and there. You'll get the training there as well. And then we are, in terms of the video course, everyone's up to speed. So you don't necessarily have to ask me. The live streams, as we record them, they'll go in here automatically. This is Nick's live lean design course from last year. We're going to put Nick's videos he just did the other day in here. And this is the 19 course here. We pulled out the server and cloud stuff and called it a deploy course. But for when you pay us a one subscription, you get all of that. And then over here, you get the Go 2020 course. We are updating this content here. As you can see, it's not loading in here yet. It's just a little out of date, and I want to modernize it a little bit. So that'll take about the next couple weeks to get that done. And then we have all the legacy courses. Like I got people asking me, hey, can I get FileMaker 14 training? I'm like, dude, okay, no problem. So if you just, what we're going to do is that people just buy the general video only subscription, they get everything. They don't have to worry about it. Makes it much easier. So tomorrow, 1 o'clock. I appreciate everyone. Thank you, Bunny, Elza, Scott, Chris, Richard 1, Richard number 2, Kay Turley, Mr. Pollard, Brian, tech support guy on Saturday, covering up. Dave Learning, appreciate it, Dave. Everyone, have a good day. And TK 55678, be good, or the Stormtrooper will be visiting you. Thanks.
guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected. The quarterback, great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.